There's a famous story of the circus elephant. And when this elephant was a baby, the staff at the circus, they took a rope, they wrapped it around its leg, and they drove a stake into the ground. And this elephant is like any other kid or any other young animal. And it wants to be free. It wants to run around. And so it tries and it tries, but it cannot free itself from this rope and this stake. And soon enough, this elephant turns into one of the biggest animals on the planet. And just imagine this huge animal, one of the heaviest animals on the planet, maybe the heaviest, I don't know, probably a whale, and it's heavier. But it's being held down by this tiny rope and this stake driven just a few inches into the ground. And the elephant, what happens is it never tries to free itself again. And it's because when it was a kid, it believed that this rope and this stake was going to keep it in place and it could never free. So the elephant looks down, it sees the rope, and it just knows, I can't get free. I'm stuck here. And it never tries to free itself. And I believe a lot of us operate in our daily lives just like this elephant. And we all have these beliefs that keep us from being the best version of ourselves. In this video, I'm going to give you the full guide on how to reverse your limiting beliefs, because your beliefs are what is keeping you from being the best version of yourself and living the life that you want. All right, so what is a limiting belief? These are beliefs that we hold about our abilities or potential that can prevent us from pursuing something that we want or we need. I put together a quick list of some pretty big limiting beliefs. Number one, I'm too old. I'm too young. We hear that all the time with people, they feel like they're too old to get started, or they've missed their opportunity and they never get started. I'm too young. I don't know all this, I shouldn't even be starting right now. And it keeps them from actually getting ahead of everybody else who in society's norm, they're not actually going forward. And so these statements are keeping them in place as opposed to following what they know they truly should be doing. And that's why this is important. I highlighted a few as well. I can't start. I'm not ready. I don't have enough time. We hear that every day. I'm sure you've heard some of your friends say that, or people that you tried to connect with, or you may even be saying that. How are you getting 1/3 of what, or even like 5% of what other successful people are getting done in the same amount of time? It's crazy. These are stories we're telling ourselves that are keeping us stuck. Here's another one. I'm not trying is better than failure. And this goes to like a fear of actually failing, but there's beliefs in there that we got to change. I'll never be successful. Life is hard, and that's just the way it is. Now, these are like straight up some of the heaviest limiting beliefs. And there's going to be sub-limiting beliefs under all of these that are not quite as in your face. Some of you may have limiting beliefs like, I'll never be successful. If you have that, make sure we start working on that immediately, because it's going to be hard for you to take action and when the whole time you're like, I'll never be successful. I'll never get better. I don't have enough time. You'll never do it. And these are the beliefs that are keeping us hindered and locked in, just like the elephant. And so I want you to pause this video right now and write down a limiting belief that you have. And really take some time. If you need 5-10 minutes to think about a limiting belief, write it down and let's get it in front of us, get it out on paper. Most of these beliefs, they're beliefs that we're unaware of. They're not at the top of the surface. We're not just like walking around like, I'm not going to be successful. I'm not going to be successful. Hey, what's up, man? Good to see you. I'm not going to be successful. It's not like that. It's like an undertone in our subconscious mind that we're holding and we're walking around. And so write it down. Try to figure out one limiting belief. For this video, for this example, write down one limiting belief that you can think of that you have. Now, when I was coming up and I first was trying to get into this personal development state, I had a mentor, and he heard me talk, and he heard me say this. He's like, I said, I can't work. I can't get into a flow state without drinking coffee. And he heard me say that, and he stopped me. And he says, Jack, don't say that. Because that belief, even though I was kind of being funny, and it was true, I was being funny, but it was a real thing. He was like, don't say that, because now you're relying on now you're telling yourself you need that coffee to actually get in a flow state. And truth is, I did. It felt like I did. And I started drinking coffee. I had to drink coffee, and I had to drink coffee late. And then I started missing out on sleep. And so just that little thing, even though it doesn't seem that big, it started affecting my sleep. It started affecting my health. And ultimately, I wasn't as happy because I'm not going to sleep until 4 a.m. and I'm waking up later, and it's affecting some of the other things that I wanted to get done. And so it was very small and very simple, and it wasn't a big deal at all to me, because it's just like, hey, I can't get focused without coffee. It's not life or death, but these small beliefs, you're putting power into something else. So that leads me into the first step of actually finding and overcoming these limiting beliefs. So the first step is become aware. You got to become aware of these beliefs, because like I said on the last page, we don't always know what these are. They're subconscious a lot of times, and we're constantly operating on them. So to do this, how do you become aware? It's very simple. You need to take time for you. This may mean going on a walk. For me, a lot of times it's sitting there meditating and becoming aware of the thoughts that I'm thinking. And so you got to be aware of these things that are keeping you from getting what you want. This is going to be the key to personal development and starting to see you really go down the path towards success. Become aware. If you're not aware, you're just going to be operating where there's this practice, obviously, is called being conscious, right? And being really present in the moment. And a lot of times we get into a state where we're not aware. We're not conscious. We're picking up our phone and we're just running on these patterns and these scripts. Have you ever drove down the road and you're like, wow, how did I just get here? How did I go so far? It's because you're operating on scripts, and in the background, you're just running this operation, and you're not aware of in the moment, and you're not actually conscious of what's happening. And so you don't know who you are being. You don't know that these beliefs that you're operating on could be keeping you from actually doing what you want to do. If you believe that you can never stay consistent and you can't choose one thing, and you're just not disciplined enough, when you start, you may actually start, but you'll probably quit. You'll probably fulfill that prophecy, that belief that you have about yourself. So that's step one, become aware. You got to know what the problem is, and then you can go into fixing it. Step two, understand that it's just a belief. When you find the belief, the limiting belief that's keeping you from, even if it's from getting better sleep or becoming a better family person or being the best version of yourself or making more money, when you find it, understand that it has no power. It's just a belief. And to simply put it, a belief is a thought that you think over and over again. It just means that you've thought this way of, you've acted in this way, and you've thought this thought enough times to where it's become a belief. And if you want to change it, then you need to start thinking in new ways and looking at new opportunities. Instead of just looking at one way forward, you want to start looking at new options. And this can change it really quickly. So know that it's just a belief. The thing is, identify its origin. A lot of times we pick up things from our childhood. We pick up things from our parents. We pick up things from our experiences. If you tried to shoot a basketball and you missed and you never tried again, you're probably going to tell yourself, I can't make a basket. A lot of things we tried one time and we failed, and we're just like, I'm not good at them. And so is this belief even valid? And if you can identify where you got the belief from, like, hey, my dad always told me I'm not good at math. We're not good at math. Or my mom told me that, I'm not the best listener. And you've adopted that way of thinking. If you can identify it, you can immediately get that awareness. You identified it where it's like, ooh, aha moment, and you can be set free from it in a way. And you're like, wow, that doesn't have power on me, because I realize that's not a true story. And it's not true It's not real. That's the problem with the limiting beliefs. We're acting as if these beliefs, which if we go back, is truth, is fact. And it's not. It's just something, it's a belief that we've adopted, and it's not true. For example, if I were to say, I can't be successful, another example of this, you'll probably never take the actions and the steps to actually try to be successful because you just believe it's not true. It's not fact. You could look at you could have a twin that came up in the same environment as you and made it and was completely successful. And it would prove to you that in real life, that limiting belief is not fact. And so understanding this and then identifying its origin is very liberating and can help you get to the next level of overcoming it. Step 4, understand how it's affecting your life. Dial in why this belief that you have is keeping you stuck and keeping you in the state of sameness. If you can identify it, then when you start to do that action, you can notice why you're not actually taking the right action, or you may not be doing it with the right energy, or you may not be going down the right path, or you fail it, whatever the belief is. Identify how it's affecting your life. That way, when you do come across it in your day-to-day life, you can identify it as like, hey, this is that point where I think that I'm not good at talking, so I'm not going to make YouTube videos. Or I can't make content. People are going to judge me. You get it? So step 4, how is this affecting my life? Understand that. This is supposed to be step 5 here. Classic presentation mess up. Did this at 4 o'clock this morning, which is crazy. Reversing the belief. So now that you're aware of it, now that hopefully you've identified where it came from, and it's now time to start putting new thoughts in. Like you're ready. It's time to take the thought that you were thinking in the way of being and put it in to yourself. And you do this by noticing the way you're thinking and not giving any emotional weight to it. And when I say that, what do I mean? I mean, don't start to take it on emotionally. Like, for example, a limiting belief. I'm never going to be successful. There's a time where you can say it in your head, and then there's a time where you can like take it on as an emotion. Like, oh man, this is awful. And you can counteract that and reverse it by saying like, I'm absolutely going to be successful, and start to talk to yourself in new ways. And at first, it's not going to feel right. You're probably going to feel bad because you're used to operating off this, I can't be successful. And then you try to change it, and it's not going to feel authentic. But that's because you're truly not being authentic by believing you can't be successful. Inside of you, deep down, you believe that you can be successful. And you've told yourself for so long that you can't. It feels like it's really you, but it's not. And this is how you start to reverse it. You start to notice it, and you start to put good opposite thoughts in that go along with what you want to do. And it starts to fuel you. It starts to give you energy. It starts to take your presence up, and you start to take action. You start to open up doors, and things start to come in. And so it's really simple, that process right there. Boom, 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 boom. Become aware. It's just a belief. It has no power. It's just a thought that you've thought over and over again. If you can, identify where it's from. Where did you pick it up? Did you get embarrassed one time in front of the class, and from then on out, you stopped, you avoided crowds or whatever? Identify where it came from, because when you identify it, usually a lot of times you're like, oh, that's silly. That's not even real. And you can overcome it right there. Then notice, how is it affecting your life? Is it making you avoid social settings and not going, whatever the belief is? How is it affecting you? Write it down. Then as you go throughout your day, this is not going to happen with a snap of a finger. It can, but a lot of times it's going to have to be trained, and you're going to have to really reprogram yourself. And you have to start reversing and putting in new data, new information that counteracts the limiting beliefs that you've been holding for sometimes your entire life, sometimes 5 years, sometimes a couple years, sometimes a couple months. And this is the complete guide to reversing limiting beliefs. I hope this helps. I know it will if you implement it. I've implemented this in my life, and I noticed that even though I've been doing this work, I have new beliefs that come up and new things that I say that I don't even necessarily take a lot of weight to, and sometimes I'm just joking around, and that it affects you. And so take these beliefs, you want to X them out. You want to X out the limiting beliefs, so then you can start moving towards what you want. If there's one thing that I know to be true, it's that if you don't believe in something, you're not going to make it happen. And if your belief is in opposition to what you want in any way, even if it's like, hey, I just want to eat healthier, and you believe that you can't eat clean and you can't eat healthy, then you're never going to do it. And if you start, as soon as you come up against resistance and it gets tough, you're going to quit. So find these limiting beliefs. You don't have to go on a huge deep dive all at one time and try to figure them all out. They'll come up and you'll notice them. And then just follow this process. Simple as that. Step 1, become aware. They come up. You're aware of it. Understand it's a belief. It really has no power, but it has been what you've been thinking, so it's going to take a little bit of work. Identify where it came from. Figure out how this is affecting your life. It just puts more attention on it, so the awareness gets bigger. And then reverse it. Start putting in new information. Start telling yourself a new story. Rewrite the script and go win. Let's get it.